Can I get a woo woo? Welcome to the Woo Woo and You podcast. I am your host, B. Marie. And if you love all things manifestation, sound healing, auras, tarot, astrology, numerology, or anything else considered woo, then you are in the right spot. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Woo Woo and You. Can you believe it's May? And technically it's almost June because this is the end of May at this point. So this episode, I actually wanted to go back into astrology and talk about the houses, because this is my birthday month, and what better way to celebrate your birthday than to learn more about yourself through your astrology chart. So I want to talk about the houses because for me personally, that's a very interesting topic. The houses are where in your life the planet energies are playing out, or it can also be like the stages of your life experiences. So I don't know if I said this in my previous astrology episode, but the planets are what energy is being expressed. The sign is how the energy is being expressed. And like I said, the houses are where the energy is manifesting. So the houses flow from being super personal, like focused on yourself, to expanding and focusing on the collective or the outside world. And the planets located in your specific houses are going to indicate which area of life you're going to see the most focused activity or challenge. Now, you'll notice in your chart that not every house will have a planet. Some houses will be empty, but that does not mean they are not active. They are active. It's just that each house is going to have a ruling planet or sign, and that is what is used to understand how that area of life functions. So if you look at your natal chart, you are going to see the wheel split up into 12 parts, and those are the 12 houses. Now, if you're using a whole sign chart, this will be a little bit easier to see which sign rules that house. And from that sign, you're going to know which planet rules that specific house for you, because, of course, each chart is going to be different. So what you would need to do is look at the boundary line of your house in your natal chart and find the zodiac sign that is basically sitting there, right? And then you would match that zodiac sign to its ruler. So for example, Aries is ruled by Mars. Taurus and Libra are ruled by Venus. Gemini and Virgo are ruled by Mercury. Cancer is ruled by the Moon. Leo is ruled by the Sun. Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn or Uranus. And Pisces is ruled by Jupiter or Neptune. So that's how you're going to determine what kind of energy is basically ruling your empty houses. Because just because they're empty doesn't mean they're not active. Okay, so let's get into what the houses actually represent, what they mean, and what's going on with each house, because this is such a fun topic for me. So, like I said, there are 12 houses, so we're going to go in order here. And like I said, they kind of flow from being focused on you, yourself, and going, each house kind of just flows and goes more outward toward the collective. So the first house is all about yourself. It is called the House of Self. It represents your identity, vitality, how you assert yourself in the world, your personality, your physical body, your appearance is ruled by the first house, And if you notice, the zodiac that is on the cusp of your first house is also called your ascendant or your rising sign. And the planets in there are going to affect your personality. The second house is the house of value. Its values, its desires, its personal resources, material wealth, your self-esteem. This governs how you earn and spend and save money. This also reflects your self-worth. So any planets here are gonna operate in the field of material needs and indicate what you put value on. The third house is the house of communication. This is all about your communication, the mind, your environment. This governs how you process information, how you share ideas, how you interact with your surroundings. This rules how you speak, how you write, and the planets here influence your ideas, your communication, your cooperation, your daily interactions, your peers, and also short journeys and trips, which is kind of interesting. The fourth house is the house of the home and the family. So this is going to govern your roots, your ancestry, your domestic life, the relationship with your parents, your home environment, your inner emotional world, your legacy. This is basically a roadmap to creating security for yourself. So this is your foundation, and any planets here are going to influence your childhood, your wounds, your traumas, your mother figure, your maternal energy, self-care, family relationships, food, and nourishment. The fifth house is all about the house of joy. It's the house of play, pleasure, creativity, your self-expression, how you shine and create. This rules like your hobbies, your talents, your need for attention, also aka your ego. The way you approach love and courtship, and the energy that you bring into the dating world. So this is also your inner child and the relationship with children, and also the house of fertility. The next house is the house of work, the house of health, your daily routines, the service you provide to others. This is going to govern your daily life, your habits, your diets, the relationship with your coworkers and colleagues. This is also how you take care of your body, your exercise routine, right? This is also where illness, sickness, and disease live in this house as well. So the sixth house can also be a house of overcoming obstacles. So planets here could bring up some challenges for you. The seventh house is the house of partnerships and relationships. So this is the house of others, where the first house is all about you and yourself. The seventh house here is all about the other. So this is going to govern your commitments, which could include marriage. This could be business partnerships and ventures. This is how you relate to others. It's also the traits and qualities and energy that you look for in others. So this can really reveal what kind of partnership is going to make you happy. So this is the place where opposites may attract, and this also represents issues with relating to other people. Now the eighth house, my personal favorite, is the house of transformation and rebirth. It's all about shedding old versions of yourself. This rules your major life crises, transitions, and healing. This is the cycle of death and rebirth. This is the house of where you're exploring taboo subjects, the mysterious, the psychological. This is ruling your deep spiritual bonds with other people. This represents the shadow self, so any part of ourselves that we hide or we fear. And for me personally, when I think about the eighth house, for some reason, I just think about the third eye and all of the qualities with that because it's mysterious, it's the unseen, it's the spiritual world, right? This house also rules joint bank accounts, shared investments, wills, divorces. So, planets in this house could influence or refer to the lessons that you need to learn. A quick little break before we continue. If you want more than just the podcast, the Patreon is where we share monthly collective tarot readings, shadow work prompts, and my personal behind the scenes journey and monthly reflections. You also get access to our sound baths. We have different tiers in our Patreon. So this is a more intimate space to actually do the work together. So if your soul is like, yes, I want that, you're going to find the link in the show notes below. Now let's get back to it. The ninth house is the house of expansion. This is about higher learning. And this is going to govern long distance travel and foreign cultures and countries. This also is about your belief systems, your personal morals, your worldview, your life's meaning. This could be also entrepreneurship, wisdom, education, teaching, truth seeking, and new horizons. The 10th house is the house of ambition. It's your calling. It's how you're going to step into authority. It's about career, your public reputation, social status, legacy, your achievements, your leadership, your long-term goals. And this indicates what energies and challenges are for your career. So this is all about career and your public image. The 11th house is the house of hopes and dreams and the future. This is going to rule your network of communities, your groups, your acquaintances. This also represents your role in the bigger picture. This is also about teamwork, collaboration, community, and innovation. And the last house is the house of the unseen. This is the subconscious realm. This is where you have secret struggles. This is the house of also self-undoing. It could be self-destruction. This could be addiction. It's also known as the house of karma. But your connection to the divine and your dreams also live here. So it's also connected to spirit guides. So that is the 12 houses and basically what energies live in those houses. So now I want to give you an example of my own chart. And if you're watching the video on this, you're going to see my personal chart. And for what I did, I know that some people love AI and some people hate AI. So what I did was told AI, here is my first house. I am ruled by this. And this is what I have in my first house. And I did that for every single house. And then I told it to just kind of give me what this means in detail, because I wanted to know, because I don't remember everything as far as the planets go for what it means. But I just wanted to see if any of this resonates. And it's so funny because a lot of what I do research and what it does tell me, it resonates. So I wanted to know what it would say about me. So I actually used two versions of AI. I used ChatGPT, which is the one I typically use, and then I used Gemini, which I don't ever use. So Gemini versus the description that is in Chat, they're very similar, but because I guess Chat knows me a little bit better, it gave me more of me, right? Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but I'm going to read you what Gemini said, because Gemini doesn't have any details of how I am or anything like that. So it said, for my first house, since that represents your physical body, your personality, and all the things like that, And with Mercury in my first house, it says I am naturally curious, I'm communicative, and I process life at lightning speed. It says I talk with my hands, I love learning, and I need constant mental stimulation, which is kind of true. Like, I absolutely do love learning. Anything that fascinates me, I can deep dive into, right? And I do notice I kind of do talk with my hands even now as I'm sitting here alone doing this podcast. I'm sitting here talking with my hands. So that is on point. And for my Mars in the first house, it says that Mars gives me incredible drive, energy, and assertiveness. So I don't just think, I actually act. So you can be independent, although sometimes it may come across as impatient or intensely direct, which I also agree with. I do have like a lot of ideas, and then if I want something done, I go and do it, right? And I do agree with being independent. I do think that I am independent, and yes, I can be impatient sometimes. So I am learning to be a little bit more patient. And then with Chiron in my first house, Chiron is not a planet, but it does represent the wounded healer. So if you have options in whatever app you're using to look at your birth chart, see if you can find where your Chiron is, because that is the wounded healer. And Chiron is going to tell you basically where you're wounded, and it's usually tied to your childhood. And this is where you can basically turn that wound or that trauma or that pain into your greatest source of wisdom and strength to help others. So if you can look up where your Chiron is, I think that will really help you understand yourself a little bit more. So for me, since it's in the first house, this is suggesting that I have issues around self-worth, right? And I absolutely do. When I first started doing shadow work and inner child work, it all basically boiled down to my self-worth. Was I worthy enough of what I wanted, right? So I agree with that. It's also regarding your appearance, because it's in your first house. The first house, like I said, represents your physical appearance. And I've always had like an issue, especially in childhood, where, I didn't feel like I was the pretty one. I had braces, I had glasses, I was chubby. So I had a lot of issues around my appearance. And then it's also suggesting how you feel about like your authentic self. So are you okay to express yourself, right? And for me, like I was the type of person to kind of, I guess, be whatever you wanted me to be, because I wanted to be accepted into groups, right? So I think that's also why I used to drink a lot too, is because not only was I hiding from my insecurities, and like that would help me loosen up and be a little bit more free, and I also don't think I know who I was back then, because I was always trying to fit in, right, and be liked. But because my Chiron is in the first house, this is helping you learn to accept yourself as you are and heal your own insecurities, so that you can potentially be a guide and a healer for others. And with Chiron in the first house, I absolutely agree and resonate with all of that. For this second house, for me personally, it is Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. I don't have any planets in there, but I do have my black moon Lilith. And again, this is another thing that you can toggle on or off, or just kind of research to see where this lands for you. But Lilith represents basically raw power, taboo, and where we refuse to compromise. So, because it's in my second house, it can create an intense or turbulent relationship with money and self-worth. So, you may experience like a financial cycle of ups and downs and a need to be completely financially independent. So I also resonate with this. I've always wanted to be financially independent, although I never wanted to quote unquote work, right? Like I never found any job or career that I really wanted to stick with because I get bored so easily. But when I start doing my own thing, like the woo woo in you, I could do this all the time. I literally could talk about all these taboo topics and, dive into a rabbit hole and all the things. So I don't have an interest in something that is, quote unquote normal. That's what the Black Moon Lilith in the second house is for. And I definitely agree with the financial, I guess, roller coaster or cycles, because there are times when I'm doing great financially, and then other times I'm not, and then I am, and then I'm not. And it has been this this cycle, but that's okay. All right, moving on to my third house is ruled by Leo, which is ruled by the sun. I do not have anything there, but because it's ruled by the sun, this just means, according to Gemini, that I bring a sense of pride or warmth to how I speak and how I write, which I've always enjoyed writing, even in high school. I was in journalism and I loved poetry and all that kind of stuff. And then my fourth house is ruled by Virgo, which is Mercury. So because Mercury is in my first house, it's tied to my identity. So that means I need mental stimulation. I need freedom at home, which says you may move or rearrange your living space frequently. So if you don't know me, or if you haven't listened to the previous episodes of the podcast, you may not know that I have moved frequently. Starting in I was like 18, 19 when I first moved. I went to Europe for like 2 weeks. I came back to the States. And then a couple of years later, I ended up moving to a different state. And then I went back to Europe. I went to different countries in Europe. And then I ended up back here in the States. So yes, I have moved frequently, and I do actually enjoy like rearranging my furniture in my house. So yeah, that definitely resonates. Now my fifth house is Libra, which is ruled by Venus. And the only thing that I have in my fifth house is the South Node. So the South Node represents comfortable karmic patterns from the past. So it says I'm naturally creative, charming, and I probably know how to romanticize life, which I can't disagree with that. I love dreaming and planning for the future and just imagining like the best thing ever. I've always done that. But it says, because the South Node is a point of release, I'm basically meant to move away from overindulging in my personal drama and seeking like external validation and getting swept up in superficial romances. So that is what I'm meant to release. So I did not know that about the South Node. So that's interesting. All right, the sixth house for me is in Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto and Mars. I actually have Pluto in my sixth house, as well as Vertex, which again is another thing that you can toggle on and off and find in your chart, because that's not a planet. But Pluto in the sixth house means that you don't do casual when it comes to work or wellness. Pluto is bringing an intense need for control and transformation in your daily life. You might experience radical shifts in your diet and health routines, or find yourself drawn to intense investigative or psychological daily work. Watch out for a tendency to overwork or obsess over perfection. With my health and diet routines, I've also cycled there many times. So I've done probably every diet you could think of. I've done diet pills, I've done different types of exercise routines. In fact, I have one right now where I have made like a playlist and I'm basically doing a different workout. I'm trying to do it daily, but I have missed a couple of days, but that's okay. We'll get back to it. But I did do my video for today, so go me. Anyway, so yes, I agree with my diet and health routines. Absolutely. They've been up, they've been down, they cycle. All good. And then the vertex in the sixth house is a point of karmic destiny. So if you are interested in your karmic destiny, then find out where your vertex is. Since mine is in the sixth house, this indicates that major fated turning points in your life will happen through your everyday job, encounters with coworkers, or you have significant health pivots, which is interesting. I don't know that I resonate with this one, at least not at this point in my life. So yeah, we will keep living and find out. The seventh house for me is in Sagittarius, so that is ruled by Jupiter. In my seventh, I have Saturn and Uranus. The seventh house is ruling the one-on-one relationships, your marriage, your business partnerships, things like that. So with Saturn, this is bringing me lessons, structure, and delay. This says I take commitment very seriously. I may marry later in life. I may choose a partner who is older or more mature. Or I feel a heavy sense of responsibility towards your partners. So for me, I married early and I'm not married now, but I don't know what later in life actually means. Does that mean like 40, 50, 60? I don't know. So I don't know if I resonate with this one right yet. Uranus in the seventh house is bringing a crave for freedom and unpredictability. Okay, this push-pull between the Saturn, which is stability, and then Uranus, which is freedom, means you want unconventional relationship. You want a partner who gives you massive breathing room. Otherwise, you may feel suffocated and abruptly break things off. So I do think I resonate with the Uranus in the house, because I do like freedom. I do like having my own me time. I don't want to feel smothered or constantly like up my butt kind of thing. I don't like that. So yeah, I think I agree with Uranus being in my seventh house. The eighth house for me is Capricorn, so that's ruled by Saturn. So I have my Moon, Neptune, and a lot of fortune in the eighth house. So again, the eighth house is all about the mysterious, the death and rebirth, things like that. So the moon in the eighth house basically means your emotions are deep, private, and psychic. You feel things at an atomic level, but I rarely show it on the surface. You possess a powerful emotional resilience and an innate understanding of human psychology. So I do resonate with feeling deeply and not like showing it, because I've always been the type to process, I guess, by myself. I prefer to process by myself rather than in a group, I guess, or with others. So yeah, I think I agree with that. All right, Neptune in the eighth house is dissolving boundaries. Here, it can make financial boundaries with a partner a bit blurry, or give you a highly spiritual or almost mystical approach to intimacy and the occult. So personally, I don't know like about financial boundaries, because even when I was married, like our financial stuff was kind of separate. So I don't know how much I agree with this, but anything mystical I like. So that's interesting. The lot of fortune, again, is another thing you can turn on or off to see where it is, but this is an Arabic abstract calculation pointing to where you find luck and fulfillment. So finding it here in the 8th house suggests that your greatest prosperity and spiritual riches will come through mastering shared resources, psychological healing, or inheritance. So, okay, that's interesting. I may have to look more into the law of fortune because I don't know a lot about it, but yeah. All right, my 9th house is in Aquarius, which is ruled by your Saturn and Uranus. And I don't have anything here, but your belief systems are highly logical yet completely independent and progressive. So that's all about the higher education. And then my 10th house is also empty, but that is ruled by Pisces, which is Jupiter and Neptune. So this gives your career path a very idealistic, compassionate, or expansive flavor. To see how your career manifests, we look to where its rulers are sitting, which takes us to your 11th house, which is Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So I have my North Node, my Jupiter, and my Venus in my 11th house. So the 11th house, again, is about long-term goals, groups, friendships, humanitarian causes, things like this. So for you, this house is a major powerhouse of luck and destiny. Okay. So the North Node in the 11th house is your ultimate soul purpose in this lifetime. Okay. So I guess if you want to know like your purpose, then look up where your North Node is. So this is saying I'm meant to step out of the 5th house bubble of personal romance drama and step into community leadership. And your growth lies in collaborative efforts and fighting for collective future. How freaking cool is that? Because is that not what I'm doing? Like, I'm literally building the woo-woo. And I had, like, it's not just me. It's me and, 2 other ladies. And then in my local community, I've met some great people and we're, like, collaborating and doing things. So how fun is this? Like, I just love astrology. Like, this just lights me up. I love it. Okay. With Jupiter and Venus, this is one of the luckiest combinations in astrology, according to Gemini. Okay. So this, having both benefics, planets of blessing, means you have incredible protection, luck, and joy tied to your friendships and networks. So you can easily manifest your dreams, attract influential mentors, and find immense joy in community spaces. Okay, I like this. I like this reading. And then my 12th house is Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. And the only thing I have in there is the sun. So the 12th house, remember, is the hidden realm. It's the subconscious. It's dreams, secrets, isolation. So with the sun in my 12th house, that represents your core ego and vitality. So sitting in the 12th house, you're someone who recharges in complete solitude. While your first house Gemini energy makes you appear highly social and talkative, your core self actually requires quiet, introspective time away from the world to process everything. You may have a rich inner life, powerful, vivid dreams, and a deeply spiritual nature that you keep hidden from the public eye. I absolutely agree with that whole paragraph right there. Like I said, I love my alone time. I love to just be in my thoughts, I guess. Be in my own head. That's where I'm living most of the time. So yeah, okay, absolutely. So the summary of my chart. Your chart splits you beautifully between an active, expressive, public self and a deeply private spiritual inner world. With Gemini first house and in an Aries 11th house, you are built to speak, connect, lead groups, and inspire change. Yet, with your sun in the 12th and your moon in the 8th, your fuel source is entirely internal, psychological, and deeply spiritual. Your life's journey is about balancing that powerful, loud, outward drive with a quiet, transformative depth of your private world. Oh my gosh. Like, don't we just love astrology? The more like I dive into this and learn about it and research it, it just blows my mind like how accurate this stuff is. And like I said, like I just went through and agreed with most of the stuff. So yeah. So if you like I said, like if you don't know everything about astrology and you want a quick little summary, you know, you can look it up, you know, by house, by what you're ruled by what your planet is. Or if you're okay with AI and you want to put all of your information in just to see what it says, then do that and see if it resonates. And if you do, you know, research your chart, let me know in the comments below, like, if you resonate with what it says. So that is it for this episode. I'm going to leave a link below in the show notes of the app that I actually use for my birth chart. And I'm going to link the articles that I used for this information about the houses, so you can, you know, research a little bit more, dive a little bit deeper if you want to. And just to note, for what I looked up today for my birth chart, I use the whole sign chart, because you can use also a Placidus chart, which is a little bit harder to see, like kind of where your houses are. So I switched it over to the whole sign just because it was easier to see, like my first house was Gemini, my second one was Cancer, and so on. So yeah, with that being said, I will talk to you in the next month's episode. Bye guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you would like the links to anything that was discussed, please see the show notes. Or of course, you can visit our website at www.thewoowoondyou.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at thewoowoondyou for more woo.